And that is another big thing that was really drawn to the Catholic Church. And that is one reason I deliver food for the meal assistance program. I don't do that because I'm mayor. I don't have to do that because I'm mayor. I want to do that because there's a need. And just being able to go and be a light and be a smile maybe that somebody has needed that week.
Welcome to Open Seat, the podcast where we create a space for authentic conversations about faith, unfiltered and unapologetic. Here, we believe that every story matters. Whether you're questioning, seeking, or steadfast in your beliefs, you'll find something relatable in these heartfelt discussions. So grab your seat, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's story here at Open Seat. So today in the Open Seat, we have the mayor, Angie Heath, joining us. Thank you for taking time to join us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So just tell people who you are.
Well, I was born and raised in Adrian. I was not raised Catholic, which we'll get into in a little while. I am a wife and mother of 5 adult children. So and then many of them don't live around here. So they've grown up and moved away, but a few do. One of my children that does live with me still as an adult is autistic, which is why he lives with me. So I kind of get the privilege of not being an empty nester. And so when other people are sad about it, I don't have to be sad because I really am not an empty nester because he's still with me. So it's kind of nice. I went away to college in the state of Indiana at Purdue University and then ended up becoming a Catholic school teacher in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because when I graduated school, there weren't a lot of teaching jobs. So you couldn't really be picky. You needed to go wherever there was a job. And I really fell in love with Milwaukee. But then life took me to Chicago 3 years later, and I lived there for quite a while. And then life full circle brought me back here to raise my children. They were all born, but they were still pretty young and came back to Adrian in my hometown. And it's amazing, and I really love the fact that my children got to experience a childhood very similar to mine and that small town feeling, and just it's been really great.
Great. Yeah. So you were not born Catholic?
No.
Oh, let's hear about this journey.
So I have a kind of crazy journey.
Well.
I was actually raised Quaker, which a lot of people don't know what that is. But so it's the French church. And there is still, I think there's only one now, but there still might be 2 existing French churches here. There was 2 when I was growing up. A lot of people confuse that with like Mennonite or something like that. We didn't have to wear skirts all the time. It wasn't like that, but it was that you're going to be at church a very large portion of Sunday. You are going to observe the Sabbath, and there's not going to be any sporting events, any activities, like you're going back to church Sunday night. It was a lot of sitting in the hard pews, but it was great. It gave me the basis for the Bible, like really knew the books of the Bible. I had already read the Bible because of that upbringing. But what it did is it gave me a fear of God. It was very fire and brimstone. It was a God to be feared, a God of punishment. What was missing was that mercy, was that grace. And so I have a very vivid memory, especially in my preteen and teenage years. A lot of kids are rebelling or doing things like that. And I was just afraid to do anything wrong because it was very rule oriented. And I am already a person that is very scheduled and very straight arrow when it comes to rules, and you don't break these rules. I already was like that. So it was kind of bad because then I only saw
the God of rules.
The God of rules.
Not the God of relationship.
That's all I saw.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it wasn't truly that relationship. It was the God of rules and the fear of, if I'm sinning and I die 5 minutes later,
forever.
I'm forever in hell, because there just was no forgiveness, no mercy. And it was almost like, you better not ever sin, because it was almost like a graded system. of
Sins.
rules or sins. Yes. And so like some were worse than others. And maybe that wasn't really said, but it was definitely felt that way. I know that even from talking to my friends I grew up with, and I'm still very close with all of them. I don't think any of us are in that faith anymore at all. And even my parents did leave in my teenage years. They did end up going to a Nazarene church in my teenage years. I just never felt like I really fit in. So I was kind of lost in high school, but still very rule oriented and trying to really be that good Christian girl, but only really saw it as rules. And that to me was being that good Christian girl. Unfortunately, right before I graduated high school, I did go through a very traumatic sexual assault. And I kept it quiet because of the rule thing. And, was it really my fault? And did I bring it on myself? And I was afraid to say anything to my parents. They do know now, so it will be on this podcast. But
Well, thank God.
They do know. But they didn't know until actually after I became Catholic. That's when it came out to them. But so I went to college in a very bad mental state, even though people didn't really talk about it back then. And I was very good at masking it and very good at hiding. Nobody really knew what was going on with me. And I felt very abandoned by God. Like, I followed your rules. I did what you wanted me to do. And why did this happen to me? And so I went to college very distraught, very much searching. And I used to work at Adrian College and I used to work at Siena Heights. And I always told those students, college is the best time to find yourself. And that doesn't even just mean in a career. It's find yourself spiritually. And I really, truly believe that. I've seen so many college students that really find their spirituality and they find their purpose in college, and I did. And I really believe that. I just didn't really know. I was kind of wandering. I was going to class. I was doing well in school, but I'm missing something, and I wasn't going to church at all there, and I didn't know. And Purdue University, luckily, has a huge Catholic church there, St. Thomas Aquinas, and a lot of my friends were Catholic. And they're like, why don't you come to church with us? And I was like, well, okay, because funny story, I used to come on some of the youth group outings here at St. Mary's with some of my high school friends that were Catholic. And I was in their homes a lot. And I always I don't know, I was like enamored with their moms. And I was like, they're so reverent and they're so giving. And they were these amazing moms. And so I already had a really good taste for Catholicism from my experiences being in those homes as a teenager and going on the Pokagon Steak Part trip with the group here from St. Mary's at the time, because at that time it was St. Mary's and St. Joe's. And so I already had that. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I went, and I don't know. I can't describe it. Even the first time I walked in, and I really broke down, but I just felt the presence of God. And I really it was like I'm home. It was like I was in the embrace of Jesus's arms. And it's just really hard to explain, but a lot of people are like, oh, it's because of the incense and it was because of this. And I'm like, no, it was really and I knew that there was an open door policy there, that I could go in and kneel and pray whenever I wanted throughout any time of my college days. And just that alone as well. And it was near a lot of my classes. So I would pop in there and I would pray. And as I kept going to Mass, I kept hearing how merciful, how gracious, and it was that reverence too, I think. And I already told you I'm a structure person. And so
yes,
the structure of liturgy is really good for me, because I even will try and challenge myself and come to bilingual Mass because I'm trying to get better at my Spanish. And it's sometimes frustrating, but I'm like, well, I know what's happening because it's the same structure. Like, I know. Sometimes, though, I feel like I'm so concentrated on that, I'm really not concentrating on what I should be concentrating on. So I don't do it very often. But I was just able to really feel closer to God and like, oh, you are a loving God. You are a forgiving God. Jesus died. I knew Jesus died for us, but seeing that crucifix up there, what a reminder of the fact that he gave his life for us. And I don't know. There was just something clicked, and I kept going. And I used to joke with Father Tom at Siena Heights, because Father Tom was still the chaplain at Siena Heights when I was there. I know he's back being the chaplain there, but when I first started at Siena Heights, he was there, and his office was right by mine. And we started talking, and he knew my story. And so we started talking, and I said, I came into the Catholic Church. I was really close with the priest at St. Thomas Aquinas at Purdue, and it was Father Tom. Uh-oh. So I said, there must be something about Father Tom. but I would talk at long length with Father Tom and really explored becoming Catholic, and did finally start to go through the process. And a few weeks before I turned 21 at the Easter Vigil, I had never been baptized because my former religion did not believe in baptizing until you're an adult.
Oh, okay.
So I went through all three, confirmation, First Eucharist, and baptism. And my parents were accepting. I say that hesitantly because they were, but I could tell they were just trying to be supportive.
We support you because you're our daughter.
Yes, but it was definitely hard for them. But they were there, and as soon as I was baptized and the water came on me, they said, you glowed. Oh. We saw it. And they really saw a change in me. And they really said, okay, our eyes have been opened a lot more, and we see where you're at now in your journey. And it did then come out about a couple years. It was still a couple years later, but what I'd gone through. But they definitely saw it at that moment, and they were like, okay. And so they were accepting. So that was the journey up to that point.
Well, I'm always curious about this, right? Because you had no family who were Catholic up until that point, right?
Correct. Well, my aunt.
Okay.
So my dad's sister married a Catholic man, and she did become Catholic. They actually attended St. Joe's. Okay. So my dad did have a sister that was Catholic, but that was it.
Okay. But how does one keep their faith when the rest of the family isn't supporting that?
Well, it probably was helpful to me that I was at college. And then after my senior year, I was looking for a job, found a job in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it just happened to be at a Catholic school. That was not on purpose. I was applying everywhere. It was great. I was at this amazing school, St. Agnes in Milwaukee, and I actually ended up doing more than just becoming a teacher there. I started a before-after-school program for them. I got really involved there, and I still actually am in touch with quite a few of the St. Agnes parishioners to this day. And I moved away in 1994, and I'm still very close with several of them there. But so it really didn't feel that weird because I was so far away from my family that I kind of just had my own life.
Yeah, you built your own community.
When it would feel a little strange is when I would come home at Christmas and I'm like, oh, I want to go to Christmas Eve Mass. And they were like, oh, we were going to do movie night on Christmas Eve, or we were going to do this. And I'm like, well, I really want to go to Christmas Eve Mass. And I did. I came to Christmas Eve Mass here in Adrian by myself. But so those are the times. And so, yes, if I had moved home, or closer to my family, I think I would have felt that more. I really didn't at the time because I wasn't living near them.
You built your own community.
And I built my own community, a very strong community.
That's awesome. And it's great that you keep in touch with those people to this day. It's helpful. So after you left the Catholic school and you went to Chicago.
Yes, I left to go to Chicago because I was getting married.
Oh, okay.
And my husband to be had taken a job in Chicago. I met him in Milwaukee, but he had already taken a job in Chicago. And he was raised Catholic. His whole family was Catholic. But we met at a non-denominational, like, young people's group. So it was basically just bringing people from all walks of faith together to socialize so that you weren't just trying to find somebody at a bar or hang out or make friends. And I was living in Milwaukee. I didn't know a single person. So I found out about this group. It was great because unfortunately, even though my school was amazing, I taught with a lot of older people that were on the verge of retiring. I even taught with some sisters there. So it wasn't like I really had...
They weren't trying to hook you up with their relatives?
I really didn't have a social circle there. So I found this group, and this group is great. And we had a lot of friends that weren't Catholic because of that. And I really thought, I guess I was very naive. I was younger. I was, 25 when I got married. And I just really thought our children would be raised Catholic. Like he was raised Catholic. He went to Catholic grade school. Like he's going to be, yes, we're going to raise. And we got married and he's like, I don't want to have anything to do with Catholicism. So we didn't, I have a big philosophy of the family needs to go to church together. So as we were having kids, that was, unfortunately, I didn't stay with the Catholic. I didn't attend Mass. I did on my own still, and I did at where I was working, but I couldn't with the family.
Sure.
Like we went to a non-denominational because that was my only thing that it can't be denominational. So that's what we did because I really felt it was very important to go to church as a family and to raise your children in the church. And so that was where we were at that point. And then when we moved here back to Adrian, where I'm originally from, he was not originally from here, but we moved here, found another church that was non-denominational, that the children could go and all of that. But I still would come to like Christmas Eve Mass or to other Masses. And I started working at Siena Heights, which was great in the midst of some of this. And really, I was going to Mass a lot there as well. And I worked with a few sisters and we would talk. I worked with Father Tom and we would talk. And I was really, really craving and wanting to get back to Catholicism, but my children were now getting to the age where maybe I could explore because they were getting older and they were starting to move out or move on. In the midst of that, I did go through a pretty bad divorce, and I don't want to go into details on that because I don't want to bash anybody on it, but it was pretty traumatic for the children and myself. And because of those circumstances, again, I'm in that same boat of I'm really searching, and I really didn't feel okay being where I had been anyways. And I'm like, well, I could start going to Mass because I have the opportunity again. And my children were pretty much on their way out. And a few of them had just really, because of the divorce, had really grown. I don't know what the right word is, but they were very jaded, I guess, about faith and religion because they'd seen a lot of hypocrisy, and it had really turned them against God, against the church. They were very hurt by many things they saw. So then it just became the perfect opportunity. My youngest went to college, and lo and behold, calls me after she's there a few months and says, all my friends go to the Newman Center at the University of South Dakota, and I'm starting to go to church there, and would you be upset if I became Catholic? And she goes, I'm thinking about it. And I said, I would be thrilled. And that would be amazing. Like, what a full circle moment. And so she became Catholic at the exact same age as me. Oh. Which is so funny, at the Newman Center, at her university. So it was a huge full circle moment for that to happen as well. And I didn't push it. This was all her and her really wanting this and exploring this. So that was a really great moment to be there and experience. And it really pushed me even further to, continue in my walk.
What did you miss when you were going to the non-denominational church about the Catholic faith?
Oh, well, so a big part of it is the reverence. It feels sometimes, it just doesn't feel as reverent. And I'm not trying to pick on other churches or anything, but it's just the difference. And it might be just me personally, but I really need that quiet time. I need that prayer. I need that reverence, that kneeling, that coming in and getting my mind in the right spot. And I think sometimes that's why I do better with a very structured service as well, because of that, because of the liturgy, the way it goes, because I really can fully concentrate on the passage and on the homily because I know what's coming next. And sometimes in a non-denominational, it's a little more scattered or a little bit more, and you start to wander, you start thinking about other things because you don't know. I just feel like it centers and grounds you a little bit more, but it really is that. It's that kneeling. It's that it's the Eucharist. It is the body and blood of Christ. And I am maybe I'm a little bit more old school of even when we're like, the blood of Christ, I'm doing this sign of the cross when they ring. I know that's a little more old school, but to me, that's just that reverence. And it reminds me this is before I go up there. Like it's just reminding me of that. And it's that grace and that mercy again, shining throughout that.
Yeah. Grace and mercy is an understated thing, I think, in religion, because fire and brimstone, as much as we'd like to say it, I don't practice it. It's not there. I think it's implanted in who we are. And then how do you just erase all of that training, that upbringing, right?
Yeah, and it always is. It's always in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
It always is. And like I said, I'm grateful for certain parts of that because things that were very implanted to me at a very young age is we were memorizing the books of the Bible and we were reading the Bible and things like that were implanted into me. One of the things that is still something both my daughter and I are fighting against, we've talked about it at great length, is that so many people outside the Catholic faith think we worship Mary.
Yes.
And my daughter fights it too. We've talked about it at great length. And how do we combat this? And that, no, it's intercessory. Like you will ask for somebody that died to pray for you or to look over you. It's the same thing. And it's just, we should honor Mary gave a great sacrifice. No, she's not God, but she sacrificed as well. And it's not worshiping her, but there can be an adoration. You adore family members that have passed on. You adore saints. You adore, it's the same thing, but trying to explain that, especially to a Protestant, is very difficult because they really see it as a worship of Mary. And so it was funny because my mom was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so I am helping them quite a bit now. They live very close to me. And I go over to their house every single Sunday afternoon after Mass. I'll go over there and be with them for a few hours unless I have an event or something going on. And I help them with bills and I help them with other things, but then we talk for a long time. And I want to make sure I'm getting in as much time as I can before my mom cannot remember.
Right.
And so something came up about Mass last week, and I don't remember how it came up, but I said about Mary.
Oh, the May crowning, right?
Yes, the May crowning.
Yes.
And I don't even know how it came up, but so I said, well, this is your honoring mothers. That's the ultimate mother. But it's not worship. It would just be like putting a crown of flowers on you, Mom, and honoring you. It's like an honoring. It's an adoring. It's asking for her to intercede for us and to lift us up. And I think they understood it a little bit. I'm really not sure. I still think that's a hard one to explain.
It is.
And that's been a hard one for both my daughter and I to explain to our families.
A lot of times I'll say, okay, so like in the olden days, the olden golden days, the mother really ran the house, right?
Right. The matriarch. Yes.
But the father had control. So you would go ask your mom before you'd ask your dad.
Yes.
Right? And this is no different.
Yes.
I go ask Mary to ask God.
That's a great way. I've never thought about it like that. Okay, that's a good. I'll have to try that one.
And I'm sure your mom would relate to that, right? Like if I wanted something, I asked you. I didn't ask Dad. Yeah. So I'm always like, yeah, that's just really how it is, right? Women run the ship. Men think they do. We just honor them. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's the easiest way I can think of to say some of that is like just people understand that metaphor.
Right.
So, yeah, it's the same with saints too, right? I'm like,
yes.
This is not that crazy. These people gave their lives for Christ.
Right.
Why wouldn't he give them something in return? You know? And I'm like, oh, well, okay. Sometimes I just say, you don't really want to know. You just want to argue. And in that point, okay. It's like when Thomas says, like, Lord, help my unbelief. I just want to, like, I'm like praying, please help them believe. Because it's not there.
Right.
It's not there.
Well, it's funny because I was always that person that would, I don't know, pray very unconventionally, like at dinner time. And that is something that We've always done in our family, no phones at the table. My children come home from my adult children, one's married, comes back there. I'm already like, I'm looking at them. They put their phones away because they know it's the dinner table. But they've laughed for years because I'll be like, oh, please help us, saint whatever. If it's like we lost something, I'll be like, please help me find this. Like, and I'm praying this as we're getting ready to eat. And they were like, really, Mom, was that the right time? And I'm like, well, I found it. Like, I was trying to find it. I said, see, it helped. But, I will ask for intercession right before we're eating dinner. It's happened several times. Or give me patience or whatever it may be. But so they always laugh about that. But they're like, well, okay, we get. So in that respect, my other children do understand it a little bit more because I've prayed like that at the dinner table. And strangely enough, even with my parents now, they always want me to pray over the meal, which I don't know when that turned. I don't know. It's been recently, but my dad always was the one that would pray over the meal. And now they wait for me and they want me to pray. So I thought that was interesting.
That is an interesting turn.
Yeah.
Well, we always talk like in the office and stuff amongst ourselves, like no one's ever going to be converted by just shouting like you should be Catholic. It's our way of life. And I would say your example, even though you didn't go to the Catholic Mass, just being there and praying for your children consistently, and it's all part of the project. Is that nobody's going to convert in a day, trust me, but it's the process, right? And trusting the process. And so I just always find it really fascinating when people are like, well, I just don't understand why so-and-so did this. And I'm like, well, it's your witness. It's your life. And it speaks, which is also one of the reasons we started this podcast. Everybody's got a story. And the amount of people who listen to this and then come up and say, I had no idea this person did this, or I've done this with my family and I didn't know somebody else was out there, and I'm like, yeah, we're all walking similar journeys. Details might be different, but the journey's the same, and we're on it together.
Yes. And like I said before, I had the best examples of Catholic mothers, and I always wanted to be that mother, and I don't think I was, but I failed miserably at being, but I literally would spend the night at my friend's house and see these mothers getting up early in the morning and praying and reading the Bible and saying their prayers and getting up way ahead and just their service to their children, to their family and their community. I saw them volunteering in the community like crazy. And what a great example. And it was such a great thing to witness as an outsider. I wasn't even in that family, but being able to witness that. And I really wanted to be that person. I do get up early now. I think it's just because I got older and now I can't sleep in. But I do try to get up early before I go to work. And I really do try now to, whether it is like reading like the Lenten devotional book, whatever it is at the time. But I try to read, and I try to read a passage of scripture and just have that quiet time while I'm having my coffee in the morning and praying. It really does start my day off right. And if I don't do it, I've really noticed a difference. I wish I would have been a little bit more disciplined in doing that more when my children were younger. Yes, I got up and I'm telling you, I was praying as I was changing diapers and things like that, but I really wasn't getting up before that and doing that. And I probably didn't start me on the complete right foot, but I saw that volunteerism and that service to others, and that has stuck with me. And that is another big thing that I was really drawn to the Catholic Church, because that is such a big piece as well of the Catholic Church. And that is one reason, why I deliver food for the meal assistance program. I don't do that because I'm mayor. I don't have to do that because I'm mayor. I want to do that because there's a need, and they needed more drivers and they don't have enough. And I said, I can give up a couple Saturdays a month. I can do this. And just being able to go and be a light and be a smile maybe that somebody has needed that week. And a couple of them now have become regular, and they'll talk to me and they feel like they'll come up and say, I feel like I can talk to you. But I really saw that value in that in serving others. And that has been a big a big thing to me and was something that I even want to do more. I switched jobs partly because of that. I loved my job at Santa Heights, but a job opened up to be the executive director of Adrian Community Preschool, which serves income qualifying and at-risk children for free preschool education. And I was like, oh, this is where I've got to be. And this is what I want to be doing. And just helping those families navigate school, navigate life. I had to help them with quite a few life things as well. So it's not just the children, but I don't make a lot of money at that job.
I was going to say.
I say all the time to people, I don't do my job for the money. It's never been about the money. My husband hates that I don't want to do it. I know, but I know he loves it. But I literally want to serve. And so this is another way to serve. And I really felt that. And since that opened up, I felt like God opened up all those doors. And it was funny because I was still really contemplating it. And I was like, oh, I don't know if what I should do. And I had just interviewed for the job at Adrian Community Preschool. And I kid you not, I was off that interview. And it was because it was kind of during COVID time. So it was a Zoom interview. And I was at home. So it was not even 5 minutes later. And I've been praying ever since I got off the phone. Like, I don't know what I should do. I really feel conflicted. I feel like this is the right job, but to leave Santa Heights right now, it doesn't feel right. I don't know what to do, God. I don't know what to do. My doorbell rings. And I'm like, okay, I wonder who this is. So I go and I answer it. And it's my almost 6-year-old neighbor who I've always been really friendly with her and stuff. And she's like, Angie, can you come out and play? And my husband was there, and he goes, and that's not a sign that you need to take this job. The neighbor child comes over all the time, still does. She was at my house the other day, and now she's like going into 3rd or 4th grade, but she's at my house quite a bit. But I was like, oh, God. Okay, I asked for a sign. That was like a glaring neon sign. You don't always get those, but I was like, thank you, Lord. You told me where to go. And it's also great because, I used to speak a lot of Spanish, but I've lost it. When you don't speak it, you lose it. I almost taught school in Peru, South America. I'd gone on 2 mission trips there while I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, teaching at the Catholic school. They let me leave to go on these mission trips, to take a leave from the school for a couple weeks. But they actually wanted me to come work down there. I just really didn't think I could be in South America that far from my family. I gave it a lot of thought, though, and really did think about it. But I had lost it. I hadn't been really using it for a long time. And so this also was great because we do have a lot of Spanish-speaking families at our school. So it was able to open that door. And also full circle, because then I see a lot of them here at Holy Family, and which is another reason why I do try to sometimes go to the bilingual so I can see some of my families as well. But and that's another thing. It's just great to, like I said, I can go to Mass and not even totally understand, but just that feeling of fellowship and being with others, and just it breaks down a lot of barriers that are out in the world.
It does.
In this past Ash Wednesday, I was going to have to come to the bilingual, could not because I had something at my school for the other service. And so I was like, okay, well, and it ended up being a lot in English because there were quite a few that were there. But it was so great because I've made friends with a woman named Maria. And so she was there because it was bilingual, and she was also coming alone. She's widowed. And her daughter couldn't come with her. And I know Maria, I see her every week because she happens to own Cancun restaurant, and I happen to go there a lot. But so it was great because Maria was like, oh, I can sit with you. And just that we prayed with each other, and just that breaking those barriers, whether it be language barriers or racial barriers or cultural barriers, we all have that same common love of God and wanting, and that grace of God, and wanting to learn more and wanting to grow and walk in that life together. And so that really breaks that down, and it's great.
When you said you could have went to Peru, I was thinking, oh man, you could have met the new Pope. I mean,
I know, I was very excited. So I did a little research on that.
You just missed him, Chicago and Peru.
Oh, no, he was there when I was there.
Oh.
I did the math. So I looked up. As soon as I looked up where he had been in Chicago, I figured it was probably on the south side, which it was, and I happened to live on the north side when I was there. But I knew he had been in Peru for so long that I said, okay, what are the odds? Because I was not in Lima, Peru, which is the major city there. I was in a city called Trujillo, but it's still very large, okay? And I said, well, okay, this has got to be there's no way, but I'm going to look up. I want to see where he was in Peru. Trujillo, when I was there. I could have lived there. And so when I was there, though, we did go to a mass, but I have no idea what church we were at. But I was in the same time frame that he was in Trujillo. I was in Trujillo, Peru with him. So I was like, oh, I thought that was kind of exciting. It was a little, because I did start researching as soon as they announced that he had been in Peru. I started researching right away.
It's crazy. There's a parish in the Diocese of Lansing that he filled in for a weekend.
Oh.
And so they've been doing this big thing about this family that he did a baptism for them. And so I'm like, yeah, he's all over.
Yes.
I mean, it's crazy. And the other thing is everybody's Catholic when they're electing a new pope. It's so funny. Like,
yes, I know. All these people that are not Catholic are coming up to me and they're like, yeah, and the Pope's American. And I'm like, what do you even know about this? Like, it is so true. It's so funny. I'm like, I don't understand why but there's a high interest in it. Even my family, like, and I just told you they're not Catholic and they're very high interest in it.
Yeah. I got a text message during the election, and one of the high school kids was explaining to their teacher how this whole process worked. And I'm like, oh my gosh, well, at least we taught them correctly, thank goodness, out of here. But also, like, this person, I don't even know if they go to church. And here they are, like, how does this work?
Well, my coworkers aren't Catholic, and one was like, they saw white smoke, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how do you even know what that means? Like, it was just very funny that even my coworker was very invested in, they're not Catholic. So, yeah.
And we've never had an American Pope before this. So
I think it's created
it's crazy.
Maybe we'll see a big surge at the Catholic Church because of it. I don't know. Everybody seems, I do think, though, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know if just more people are really searching right now, but it seems, I look at the last couple years here at Holy Family, how many have come into the Catholic faith. But my daughter's group that came in a couple years ago at her school, at their Newman Center, that was a really large group, and they said it was one of the largest. Oh, so I follow them, and they just this past April brought in a new group, and it's bigger than the one they had before. And that is exactly what their father was saying, is that we're just seeing some surge right now. And I really think there are so many people hurting, and there's so many people that are really coming to terms with mental health issues and things that have happened in their life or past traumas or whatever it might be. And they're just really out there searching, and they're really trying to find what they're missing. And what they're missing is that love of God, that mercy of Jesus, all of those components. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for that. And a lot of people don't have that in their own family structure. I was lucky that I had that, but a lot of people don't have that. So they're even searching even more. And I really wonder if that's why we're seeing such a surge right now. But I've really noticed that all the way around, not just here, but it just feels, unless I'm wrong, but to me it feels like there's more and more entering the Catholic faith right now.
I think we've had our largest numbers in a while. This past year we were down a little bit, but we have. And I think a large chunk of it is because of connection. People get lost in cyber world, which is not real. And so a lot of people are like, oh, well, I came to this event and so was nice to me, and then we became friends, and then it's connection and witness. Or we had a couple of young guys who came into the church this year, and their girlfriends led them to the church. And not like after 1 year, like after a couple years. And it's just fascinating stuff. Like, I'm sure your daughter witnessed things that led her there, not because somebody told her to go.
Right. And a lot of people like to say with my daughter, Caroline, they like to say that, well, her boyfriend's Catholic. Well, it's now her fiance, but it actually had nothing to do with him. They were very just casually dating, it wasn't serious. That was not it at all. It was actually her friends, her friend group, and some of her teammates on her soccer team, and a lot of them that were going. And some were Catholic and some weren't, but they were all going. And that's what really brought her in. But a lot of people like to say, oh, it was probably, him. But now he comes from a very strong Catholic family. And that's been really great for her as well, because then she has his family, and now that they're engaged and planning their wedding, and that she does have strong a Catholic family there on his side of the family that she can also rely on. We've kind of laughed. She's like, yeah, you'll be the lone Catholic on one side of that. So they want to mix people up because they are kind of worried that one whole side and one will be in the one.
They'll all go to communion.
And then it'll be me. And then it'll be me on the other side. Me, myself, and I. But I mean, which is fine. We've kind of laughed about that. But I've actually really formed a great relationship with his family as well, because just that Catholic connection as well has actually helped me get to know them. And I've only met them a few times. Everything's been long distance because they live very far away. So, but there is that. So even long distance, you can really form that connection through faith. You really can.
Yeah, it breaks down barriers. You said it earlier, and it truly does. It can destroy a lot of myths. It can do a lot of things. Faith can move mountains.
Yeah.
When given the chance. So,
and I'm big on, like, when I went to Japan with the city a couple years ago, and I'm going again this summer, but, in Japan, they go to Buddhist temples, and so, people were like, oh, you were there worshiping. And I'm like, no, I was reverent. I was not saying a prayer to Buddha. I was not anything. I was just meditating and being quiet and respectful. And I still felt like in my own faith, actually got something out of it by going to these temples and these shrines. It doesn't mean I was worshiping them, because I wasn't, but there's some components that are the same. There's a lot of incense. There's a lot of reverence. There's a lot of prayer. And I think to this day, when I smell incense, what does it make me think? It makes me think, oh, kneel and become reverent and really reflect on Jesus and reflect on God or reflect on the Holy Spirit, but really feel their presence. And I think you can feel that even when you're not in the Catholic Church, because you have that base, and and it doesn't mean you're worshiping,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I joke, but I say, like, if I'm still working for the church, of course my funeral will be in the church, but otherwise it will probably be at a funeral home, because I have a lot of friends of different faiths. And
I've thought about that a lot, by the way, especially recently. Weirdly enough, I'm like, what's going to happen at I really want a Catholic Mass, but that's going to be really hard for the vast majority of my family and friends. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
I just think to be respectful of other people, because the funeral is not for the living, or is for the living, not the dead. So my personal beliefs aside, it's how these people feel most comfortable honoring. And there will be some people who will probably be kneeling on the floor. And then there will be some people who will say, I've never darkened the door of a church. And both will be accepted.
Right.
That's why I'm always like laughing, because we don't know who we're going to see in heaven and hell, maybe. And so it will be very interesting, right? Like I tell the kids all the time, this is going to be so fun. Because this is not what you think it is. It's not this like pie in the sky stuff. It's real. And so, yeah, I just thought about my funeral. I was like, yeah, I don't want it in a church if I'm not working there. Like, more people would feel more comfortable just.
And that's kind of where I've felt too, because I don't want people to be uncomfortable or not feel welcome or not feel like they can be there for that exact reason.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a sacrament. So I look at some of these things and I'm like, yeah. And I also look at, there are places you pop up that I don't expect. I don't know if it's in the mayor's seat, in the teacher's seat, in just who Angie is, but I'll be at a meeting and then I'll like, oh, there she is. Or like Special Olympics or all of these things, which is so excellent to see. But I don't think you don't have a friend in the city. So, which I think is wonderful. I think that's a great testament to who you are.
Well, thanks. I've always had a special spot. In fact, my school tried to get me to become a special education teacher, but I actually was concerned it would weigh me down too much. I used to feel sorry. I've moved on from that now, but I didn't think I could do it. I really thought it would just be I didn't want to feel sorry. And I thought that's what I thought I'd be too emotional from it. But I will tell you, I've got a very soft spot, and they know it. They're my best friends. A lot of the special ed community, they're my best friends. They say that. I have an adult, she's like 31, 30. She colors me pictures and sends them to me all the time, and they sit on my fridge.
Is this Emily French?
Oh, yes, it is.
I am well aware of her.
Yes, Emily French sends me pictures and colors them for me, and she sees me out in public and she says, "My best friend." But so her pictures grace my fridge. My children come home and they're like, "You don't have little children anymore." I'm like, "No, I don't." But Emily French makes me pictures, and they must go on my fridge. And then some of my students too at my preschool. But it was funny because I literally. Was God telling me to maybe do special ed? I don't know. And did I turn my back? So God gave me a special needs child. And I really feel like, especially the autistic community, I've really made a family there. My son's very high functioning, but I think everything I had learned through my educational career was very helpful as a mother with raising him and what to do. And so I do have this bond. I really do. I don't know. I find myself in those. And I love going to Special Olympics. Unfortunately, this year, my job, they made us go to professional development that day. I said, who does that on Special Olympics Day? So I couldn't go. And I was really sad. But yeah, try to be, my husband's always like, I hate going to the grocery store with you. He goes, you look at everybody and smile. But the thing is, because he said sometimes then people will talk to me. And they're people that are coming from a hard walk of life, or they're different, or there's something. And I said, but I might be the only person that smiled at them or gave them the time of day all day. You never know what somebody's going through. And I'm big on that. A lot of people think my life's been roses. Everything's gone perfectly great. Everything's been wonderful, because I'm not super emotional and I don't really show a lot of that. And I don't know. It's just how I am. But I am very good at hiding it. My husband does know that those things bother me because he's with me and sees it at home. So at home, it's more visible. And it's not that I'm trying to be fake. It's just who I am, that I can kind of put it on behind me. But I'm very compassionate about people, making sure there is a smile every single day in their life, or they just needed someone to acknowledge them in a store or to listen to them. And that's come in handy as mayor, because 90% of it's listening. I usually don't have the answers, because a lot of times it's something I can't fix anyways. It might be a situation that it's out of my control, or sometimes, yes, I can get them lined up with the right person or whatever it might be, but it's listening. And I always say that it is listening. And I've had a lot of people, I flat out have told them, you can come talk to me. I'm already telling you there's nothing I can do, but I will surely listen to you, and I will at least pass it along. And they've told me, we know you probably can't do anything, but you took the time and you listened. And I just think that a lot of people nowadays, that's what they want. They want somebody to hear them. They want somebody to listen, and really listen, and not try to be coming up with an answer or a solution. They just want you to listen and just to be there for them. And we're all busy, and sometimes that can be really hard. It really can. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, nope, you've got to do this. You've got to do this. Even with my own children, they call, it seems like the wrong times. I love them dearly, but they'll call and it's like such a busy time. And I'm like, nope, I have to make the time. I have to do this, because you don't know how long you have with them. You don't know maybe what could happen in the near future. You just don't know. And every minute, that's always been my motto. You got to live every minute to the fullest, and you've really got to take advantage of those times and not let them just pass by.
Well, thank you for sharing so much with us today. Yes. Is there anything else that you want to share that's on your heart right now?
I really am so thankful and grateful that Holy Family Parish has been so welcoming of somebody that became Catholic later in life, and then put it on the back burner for a little while, and then came back second round number 2. But I always had that there, and being so welcoming of that, and so gracious, and helping me grow in my faith, and just being there to support. And so many of the parishioners have just been amazing. and they are really a second family. And I may not go to all of the women's group or different events like that. And right now I just don't have time, to be honest. But I still feel very much welcomed and a part of it. And when I see people at the store or whatever it may be, and it was funny because when I started coming back, I actually didn't realize, because I think I wasn't an adult. I wasn't an older adult at the time. I didn't realize how many people came to Holy Family that I didn't realize did.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how many of my neighbors, I didn't realize how many people came because I was younger at the time, and I just didn't pay attention, I guess, or I just didn't realize, or maybe I just hadn't made those connections yet. So it's really great. Like, the bookmobile comes to my preschool, and one of the ladies on the bookmobile, I sit at mass with her a lot, so it's really great. And just to see people out, and just the support and that the church community has for each other. And we laugh that I'm Haddad's adopted daughter. They don't need another one, but I made myself that. I've known them for a long time, and so where they sit, there always seems to be one empty seat, and so I sit with them a lot. And so we've laughed that I'm part of their family now. But that's what's so amazing about it. Like, the first time I sat with them, they grabbed my hand when we were saying Our Father, and I was like, oh, that means I'm family. But that was very humbling and such an honor to me that they were so welcoming. And I knew them now in a different way because I knew them, but to really get to know them through faith is a different kind of relationship.
It is. Well, thank you again for sitting down with us today. We've learned a lot, and we look forward to seeing your smile.
Yes, thanks.
and your welcoming words.
Yes, well, thank you so much.
Once again, we thank you for joining us today. We hope that wherever you find an open seat in your life, you will invite someone to join you.